Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day.
Hello. I'm Kalina.
And I'm Elanor.
And welcome back to Don't Quote Me on That, where there are in fact two of us.
There are, for now. There might be three of
based
us.
On based on the last 3 weeks. Okay, the voices in your head don't count. I know based on the last 3 weeks, you might not believe it, but I do have a co-host. Her name is Elanor. She is back.
I am back. I'm right here. I died for a little bit.
She pulled a Jesus, but Jesus did 3 days, 3 weeks. Elanor said, go big or go home.
Yeah.
And did 3 weeks. Anyway. Well, what happened was no one remembered to go remove the rock after 3 days. And I remembered last minute. But Arizona's really far away, so I had to get over there to, move the rock off the,
Yeah,
cave,
my, fingernails are all torn up from trying to get that rock away. I am parched.
So, anyway.
I'm going to interrupt you with a story real quick. We used to do video podcasts.
Yes.
And then they were kind of just a headache, and they took too long to upload. But one of our longtime loyal viewers said that it was too distracting that we kept drinking water. And that's one of the main reasons I'm glad we do audio now, because I love a drink.
Well, I did point out to said longtime viewer, that, if you watch a YouTuber, okay, a YouTuber, cuts things, so they edit and they jump, so, that's normal. So if they had a drink, it's fine. So I don't think the drink was the problem. I think it's the fact that you and I aren't in the same place. So when we, cut the screen, it was just a little jarring, because we were both, it wasn't, in sync with each other in any way, shape, or form, so.
Yeah, we're more Backstreet Boys.
Anyway, speaking of NSYNC, who have great hits, we are here to talk about the greatest hits of our summers, which was Eleanor's idea. So yay for Elanor. She left me for 3 weeks, but she did come back with an offering, which was the idea for this episode. So basically, we're just gonna talk about our favorite, show, movie, album, song.
Yeah.
Of the summer. They don't have to necessarily be stuff that came out in the summer, but just what we've been listening to, what we've had on repeat, what we've been watching this past summer. Yeah, thank you.
I feel like summer isn't over, but also I work at a school, and our school is starting next week, so summer is over. The parking's already bad again.
Over. I think August, when's the solstice, in September? Or is it August?
According to the calendar, summer started June 22nd, and then it'll end September 22nd. But calling September summer is insane. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. In September, at least in Florida, you've been in school for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's in full swing.
My high school just recently changed to year round. So they started back in June or halfway through July. And that is cruel and unusual to be doing in Arizona.
Yes, but yes, in Arizona, but I kind of like the year round just because I feel 3 months is such a long time to be out of school. I always thought winter break was too short, because 2 weeks is not enough, but 3 months is entirely too long.
Exactly. Unless you're old enough to have a job and you can just and have a car. Yeah,
people have to work. You got 6-year-olds at home for 3 weeks, and you got 3 months, and you gotta figure out what to do with them.
Yeah,
it's tough.
It is. But
anyway, summer's over in our opinion.
Speaking of,
getting there.
Speaking of work, I recently revamped my work playlist, or not my work playlist, my driving to work playlist, which typically seeps into my work playlist. And there are a couple songs that I've been driving to almost consistently every day. So I think those will probably count as my song of the summer, because they're all I hear every day.
I thought it was interesting you said song and album, because I had an album of the summer. That was the easiest thing for me to come up with. But then I was I don't really want to pick a song off of the album, but if I've been listening to the album, obviously the songs are also on repeat because they're on the album. Shocking, I know.
That's kind of what I was thinking, because I have songs that I'd listen to, like, individually, but then I have albums where, like, I listen to the whole way through, which is why I kind of decided to switch them. Do you want to start with songs, or do you want to start with albums?
Let's start with songs.
Okay. I have a couple. The first one is See Through by the band Camino.
Wait, what do you mean you have a couple?
We've met me.
This is your idea.
Yeah. Look, we never finish on time. We're always way too short on time. So I figure, like, the more content I can come with, because we really got to work to make that 2-hour cut.
Okay. Sure, go ahead. What are your songs of the summer? Good God.
See Through by the band Camino. I've also been really into this song called Andrew in Drag by the Magnetic Fields. I am realizing that you're not going to have any idea what my songs are, and I'm not going to have any idea what your songs are.
Me too. Just now occurred to me.
And also Psychedelic Switch by Kylie Rae Jepsen.
3? You don't get 3 songs.
I can keep going.
Yeah, actually, we should have just done a playlist of the summer. I think we did that one year. We should have just done that.
We did. We probably should have. Okay, I'll cut myself off.
Thank you.
Unless you take more than 5 seconds to start naming songs.
How kind of you. How kind of you.
I'll just keep naming my songs until one that's also...
Do we have a crossover? No, not even a crossover. Just till I recognize one of the things you said. Either the song or the band. My song of the summer was Temporary Bliss by The Cab, because I heard it for the first time recently. And I don't know if you all remember The Cab. They have that song, Angel with the Shotgun. That was just fan edit central right there. Okay? Back in the day, we made little fan edits on YouTube. And off of that same album, they have a song called Temporary Bliss, which is basically just, like, about he's sleeping with someone and he wants, like, to, like, actually be in a relationship with her, and she's like, no, that's okay, you can just come over at 2:00 in the morning, I really don't want anything else. And he's like I can't keep doing this.
Okay, I'm so sorry. My song's about the same thing. See Through by the band Camino is about a very similar thing.
Perfect. There's our link. And I heard it recently, I don't remember where. And I've been bumping it. It's a good one. I was into it on the way to work. That album, I don't know if it got a lot of flack, but I remember Angel with a Shotgun, after it kind of got played out, you know? People, like, weren't so much into The Cab, but that vibe of that album is a good vibe. It's a banger.
Are they still making music?
No idea.
Is The Cab? No. Sorry. I was going to ask a question, and then I answered it really quickly, because I am so smart.
So smart. I'll look it up. The Cab is an American rock band from Las Vegas, Nevada.
I'm 97% sure we're both looking up the Google page right now.
Yeah. They covered Disturbia. Good hits from The Cab. They covered Disturbia on Punk Goes Pop, too.
I think we need to do a ranking of our individual Punk Goes Pop, or whatever goes whatever.
You know what goes hard? Punk Goes Christmas.
Really does.
They have, what is it? Punk Goes Country. Mm-hmm. And I think they have Punk Goes R&B or something like that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Punk Goes Crunk. I don't know how I forgot that.
The worst
However, that is where we get Umbrella by All Time Low, which is unfortunately a good cover.
No, that album played quite often in our house.
Got Hey Ya. Unfortunately, it's a good album. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
What was I saying? Oh. What was I saying? I've been listening to a lot of Glee covers recently, which is kind of embarrassing.
No, Eleanor keeps sending me on TikTok clips, because I keep getting clips of Darren Criss performing, and I never emotionally prepared when I open it up.
Well, I wasn't either, so I figured I didn't want to suffer alone.
Thanks so much. Because him singing Cough Syrup was bad enough. Him singing Cough Syrup live? Devastating.
Him
saying
saying
Teenage Dream live. Oh my god. My little heart was not cut out for
But,
that
like,
at any point
I
in
still
time.
haven't figured out what it is that he is on tour for. I've never gone the extra mile to check, like, why he's on stage.
To make money?
Okay. I mean, that's
I don't think he's, like, touring to promote an album, because, like, he's doing Glee covers. I think he's just touring, like... I think he's at that level of
like a
fame where, like,
YouTuber?
where, like, he doesn't really have his own stuff, but he's, like, a performer. It's kind of like when Broadway performers do stuff. Like, they don't write their own songs, but, like, they do little shows. They sing some Broadway songs. They call it a day. It's like that. And then I think if you look at the background of all...
Ariana Grande, they move on.
Then I think when you look at the background of the Darren Criss videos, he's got like some of the cast members from, what is it, Star Kid as his like backup. So he's like, me and my homies want to come up
It's a
together.
little reunion tour.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I could get paid to hang out with you on stage, I don't know what we do, but like,
Elanor, what do we do now?
we
You know what I think we should
delight
do? I was thinking about
and
this
entertain.
because we delight and entertain ourselves. I was thinking because apparently there's big money in TikTok lives, so I think we should just look into that. We won't do anything. We will just turn on the TikTok live and then continue with our normal day.
Oh, okay. You don't want to go like full. Have you seen like the do you know what I'm talking about? The weird ones?
Can you? I mean, I'm gonna need some more details. Probably.
Like the NPC lives?
Yeah.
Do you think we could do that?
No.
Is it 'cause there's too
thought
much to
about
remember?
Yes, and then I thought about it for like 10 seconds. I was like, Eleanor and I are not gonna remember to do the same thing for every sound.
No.
Or prompt or whatever, so.
But like, I feel like I could be trained on at least 4 to 5 commands if the money is good enough.
I'm just gonna let that one sit. And I'm not gonna say anything.
That could be one of the commands.
Anyway, I think that we are two feminine presenting people. And it's very easy to get money.
Insane.
And I think if we just turned on TikTok live and existed, someone would give us money for something.
I do think that is true. I think it might be your mother giving us money to do literally anything else.
Yeah, so anyway, what were we talking about actually, now that I think about it? It wasn't that.
Albums. You said you had an album of the summer.
I did. Well, I didn't just have an album of the summer. You told me to acquire and write down what my album of the summer was. I'm doing what you told me to do.
Okay, I'm trying to make this sound organic and like we're just pulling things out. All this talk about alive being a look into our lives, and you can't even. We scripted this whole thing.
Yes. Album of the summer, because I went to go see a concert a couple weeks ago, and so I was like listening to the album to get prepared because I heard like 2 songs off. Well, actually, I wasn't listening to the album to get prepared. That's a lie. I didn't care. I was like, I'm gonna go to the concert and know what songs I know, and call it a day. Merry Christmas. So, what was I saying? Album. The album. I went to go see Fall Out Boy. So the album was their new one, the So Much for Stardust, which I listened to after the concert. But it's got some bangers on it. And I know Elanor did not like the singles because we talked about this, but I really liked the singles, and then I liked the rest of the album. I don't think I could tell you more than 3 songs off of the album, but I did like it. It's the only like it's the album of the summer in the sense that like I might have listened to a lot of songs by different artists. Like I've been listening to a lot of Måneskin, but I haven't just been listening to Rush, whereas I've listened to a lot of Fall Out Boy, but I've mostly listened to So Much for Stardust. I'm sorry, you distracted me in the middle of my story because you started to look very confused, and I'm trying to figure out what I said that did that.
No, I was, because you said you were going to a concert, and I know what you did, and then I was like, there's no way Kalina's gonna come out with So Much for Stardust. I said,
Kalina did come out.
There's no way that's gonna be the answer. And then that was the answer. I was prepared for like.
The answer?
I don't know what else the answer would be, but like, I don't know.
Well, I've listened to the other Fall Out Boy albums.
I have no room to talk. I haven't even listened to the album. I just decided it was bad because I didn't want to listen to it.
Well, listen. Kalina has a few themes she really appreciates, and Fall Out Boy always sings about the sun and sunshine. I think that's a great theme. And so the first song I'd heard off of it was So Much for Stardust, which they say, "You were the sunshine of my lifetime," which is cute. And then they have another song on that album where they say it again. I just think it's cute, and I liked it. I thought it was a fun vibe. And then like I saw them perform it live, and it's good.
I will say they do put on a good show, and I want to make fun of you for going to see them and then going back and listening to the album, but I've done that.
I'm a big
With Fall Out
believer
Boy.
in like, yeah. Oh, good God, you're so annoying. I was gonna say like, in Florida we have this, at least we're down in South Florida where I am, in West Palm, we have this outdoor amphitheater, and so like you can get lawn tickets for like super cheap. And I was like, I like Fall Out Boy enough to spend like, I think it was like $40 maybe, $40 to go sit on the lawn outside on a summer day and listen to them play music live, because live music is the best form of music. And I was like, I know enough of their songs. And so like my friend, I was gonna look up the set list because my friend said she was gonna send it to me, and then she never did. And I was like, I should look it up. And I was like, you know what, whatever, I actually don't care. I'm sure they'll play Dance Dance. I'm sure they'll play This Ain't a Scene.
Did they close
sure
with
they'll play
Saturday?
Thanks for the Memories. Yes. So I was like, they'll play all the ones I know and like, and I like their style of music, that even if I don't like the song, I'll have a good time. And I did. They had a whole production. They had like an underwater theme for Uma Thurman, which I didn't used to like that song because that got played like way too much.
It did,
I liked it
overdone,
and then it was like bad. But yeah, they had like a little underwater theme. There was a giant starfish on the stage. It was fun. It was a little vibe. Patrick sang Dancing Queen. He sang a little bit of Dancing Queen. He sang a little bit of Don't Stop Believing. They did a Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne cover. I had a good time. So I was like, oh, well, I liked how these songs sounded. Let me go listen to the album. And it was nice. It was a nice little vibe. Eleanor and I have talked about this before, where Fall Out Boy is the kind of band that's so definitive, I don't really know what the right word is, of the genre, that like anytime I hear a Fall Out Boy song, the only thing I can say is it sounds like Fall Out Boy, because like there's no one who sounds like them. Like they made the sound and they've perfected the sound, and they're very consistent across the board. And like usually when a band, this is so not what we're supposed to be talking about, but usually when a band puts out albums, so not consistently but like over the years on such a when a band puts out an output when a band is making music consistently over such a long period of time, it's not uncommon for in the later years for fans to be like, I didn't really like this, or at least for there to be mixed reviews. Whereas, which so much for Stardust, the only person I heard say they didn't like it was Eleanor, and as Eleanor just said, she didn't even listen to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, what was your album of this summer?
I think, we're similar vibes for our songs. You're having a Fall Out Boy moment. You're having fun in the sun. My album of the summer is Stick Season.
Oh, definitely. Like, we are on the same side of the internet. I think there's like a nice little crossover space between sad Fall Out Boy fans and Noah Kahan fans. So is it Kahan?
There's two A's in there, and yeah, I think it's Kahan, but I've never seen a picture of this man. I'm only like 85% sure it is a man.
He looks like he would tell you what his favorite local roast was if you ran into him on the street. Like coffee bean roast. Like he gets a coffee bean roast from this local mom and pop shop from Uganda. I don't know how coffee works, so that's as far as I'm going to get in this example.
I was going to say, I feel like he looks like he knows the best IPA, but then I was thinking about it a little bit longer, and then I realized I would get stuck in the same loop as you, where like, I don't know enough about beer to be saying that. But also, I don't think we're wrong.
No. I'm surprised you like that. I haven't listened to it, so this is also good. This is going to be reversed. I'm not in the position of authority to speak on this at all. I'm surprised you like that album so much, because I've heard the song going around.
I'm very surprised. I like it too. Specifically, I've been listening to the deluxe version.
Wait, does that have
so
View
good.
Between Villages on it? Because I like that one.
Yes.
And Orange Juice. Okay, I like those two. I
Yes.
listen to those two.
Orange Juice is really good.
For me, in View Between Villages, he says, I'm 17 again, and I'm not scared of death. I have dreams again. And if that came out when I was 17, devastating.
I had that thought the other day. I don't know if I think it was this. I was listening to one of the songs, and I had the same exact thought when Driver's License came out. Not Driver's License, the album, when Sour came out. Where, like, if that had come out at a more pivotal time in my life, I would have crashed my car into a tree.
Yes.
And I said that at work, and then I got to go home early because they were worried about me.
They need to buck up. That's, like, definitely not the most concerning thing you've said.
No, it probably wasn't the most concerning thing I said that week. Like,
but if you're the government and anyone who might want to put Elanor in a psychiatric ward, we're fine. It's cool. These are all jokes. This is entertainment only. Thank you.
One time I told my therapist that I didn't want to be committed because my favorite sweatpants had a tie on them, and I didn't want to take it out because it would have been too hard to put back in. But I didn't get committed.
So, anyway, I lost connection with Elanor, guys. So, I'm just going to move very quickly on to the next thing that she suggested, and we'll just do this in her memory. She's not dead. She's just going back here again, because she's definitely getting committed now.
Stop telling people I died.
I very clearly said you didn't. However, whatever happens to you, you inflict it on yourself.
Anyway, my favorite song off Stick Season is Paul Revere.
I don't think I can support Noah Kahan. Why are you naming a song Paul Revere?
Because he's gonna ride like Paul Revere, and ride in like the get out of town way, not in the Irish way.
Oh, thank God. Thank you for clarifying. I was a little worried.
I just have one more thing to say, and then we can move on. I don't think that right now is the time that I should be listening to the song, or this whole album, because I did, like, kind of recently move back to my hometown and, like, start putting roots in my hometown, and this album makes me want to leave, but
I have a question.
I'm here now.
Is the reason that you listen to the album because no one on the internet possesses media literacy skills?
Honestly, a big part of it. I wanted to see if I was smarter than the average bear, and it turns out I am smarter than 95% of all TikTok.
Just to clarify, this album is where he goes, like, even the cops thought you were wrong for hanging up. I'll dial drunk. I'll die a drunk. I'll die for you. And then everyone on the internet was like, or not even if it wasn't everyone, it was too many people on the internet. We're like, oh my God, I haven't seen anyone else have this take. But, like, maybe he's not the good guy. It's kind of manipulative of him to tell her that the cops thought she was wrong for not picking up the phone when he regularly gets drunk and arrested and makes, like, his things her problem. Yeah, dude, obviously.
It's like, there's a line in the song where he says something like, I'm not taking any fault. And, like, I know that part wasn't in the TikTok sound. But let's use all of our brain before we start saying things.
The worst part was that people in the comments were agreeing. You know how sometimes you'll see a TikTok and you're like, that person's dumb. And you'll go to the comments and the comments is just them being clowned on. Which, like, really brave of you to leave the video up. But, like, I saw so many that, like, word for word were like, I haven't seen many people have this take. And in the comments, people be like, oh my God, yeah. And in this other song, he says this thing. Get a grip. Go back to 10th grade English.
I think it's so inspiring that people are just so stupid for free.
for me, I tweeted this one time. I was like, the government doesn't have to spy on us. Like, everyone has conspiracy theories. The government does not need to spy on us because people share information on the internet that I would take to my grave.
So I read these TikTok comments, and like, I think for a while it used, especially on Instagram, when you couldn't like send posts to people, some people got in the habit of like tagging your friend under a post, okay?
Yeah.
And saying like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of whatever. I see comments on TikTok that are tagging some people, and they're just like literally saying, oh my god, this reminds me of, and then lists multiple felonies. Just send that in a private message, okay? I don't need to be like scrolling through TikTok and having you talk about the night you killed somebody, like.
And it, like, if you're in court, right? Like, obviously, they can still get records to your private message. It's a lot easier for them to be like, look at this screenshot. This person publicly
available information.
Oh, anyway, we're very nice about people. You know what else it was? I think, actually, this was just the summer of people lacking media literacy skills. I don't know if it was, like, we're seeing the effects of people being isolated during the pandemic and being on their phones all the time. But, like, when Baby J came out, same problem. I was like, you all need, like, it's not even, like, media literacy. It's not even, like, you need to, like, be educated on how to dissect media. It's like, go read The Great Gatsby again, please. Yes.
So I know your respect for me is occasionally hanging by a thread, as it is.
Occasionally?
Were you around when that TikTok sound that was like somebody just rizzed up Baby Gronk? I thought that's what you were talking about for the first 15 seconds of talking about Baby J. And I'm really glad that we don't record these in video anymore, because I think you were too busy talking, but I went through like the 6 stages of grief. We're
There's
on the
6
same
stages
page
of
now.
grief?
Are there? How many are there?
5. Elanor invented a new stage of grief.
I had to, okay?
What's it called?
The last couple of years I've been having. I think I'm at the point in my grief journey. I can say that, okay? I've had a lot of death in the past 2 years. Where my brain just feels like Jell-O. It goes acceptance, Jell-O.
Oh, the secret. It's the last stage. I feel like it should be Jell-O acceptance.
Well, that's not how it works for me.
Oh, fine. Sorry. Yeah, don't you like bounce through the stages of grief?
I actually heard one time that, I know you said anyway, but I'm sticking to this. I heard one time that the 5 stages of grief weren't made for, like, the people who are, like, the loved ones of the person who's dead, but, like, they were made for the person who was dying to come to terms with them dying. And
that makes sense.
Like, that message got lost in translation at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot more sense. But I think those stages obviously will look different for the loved ones versus the person dying. But, like, I do think at the end of the day, you hit all of those points. Because even if you know someone is dying, you still have to come to the terms of, like, denying it and maybe seeing the way out of it and to acceptance and yada. Those are only 2 stages of grief I know. There's denial and acceptance.
I mean,
those are the important ones.
I don't even know where I pulled acceptance out of. I didn't know I knew that.
That is the last stage, yes. Jell-O. Anyway. All of that to be said, I'm like genuinely taking all the fun out of it. Like, I don't know what the effect is, because I've just, it seemed magnified this past year, but like the lack of ability to dissect something critically.
So ridiculous.
Or take it beyond face value. And, like, not to be like, the phones are ruining the children, but, like, they might be rotting our brains just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Something is definitely rotting the brains, like, more. Like, there's always been people who just, like, don't get things, but they're either louder or there's more of them. Mm-hmm. Or both.
Anyway, all of that to be said. Those were our albums of the summer. What was your... Eleanor made me pick a TV show of the summer, and I'm going to make her go first, because I don't know why she would do this when she knows I don't watch TV shows.
I don't know. I literally, this is embarrassing. I just had the same thought about how I said movie on the list, and then I
also don't watch those, but, like, I had a chance, at least. Great. I got a movie.
Okay. I recently have been watching Big Love on HBO Max, or just Max. I don't know what it's called these days. But it's about a family. It came out in 2005. It's a drama, and it's about polygamists who are trying to, like, basically hide and come off to the world like they're not polygamists. So like the first wife is like the quote unquote public wife, and they live in Mormon. Good God.
They live in Mormonville.
They live in Utah.
That's Mormonville.
Sorry. They live in Utah, and I haven't had any, like, big dramas come up because I'm only, like, 2 seasons in. There've been, like, little things, and things are building. But Amanda Seyfried is in it, and so is the guy, the hot one from Jennifer's Body.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's his name? Kyle or something?
Yeah, Kyle Gallner, maybe?
He responded to my tweet one time.
I know. He's so pretty.
He is so pretty. That was basically what the tweet said, too. So, like...
Yeah.
He was like, I agree, thank you.
I've been watching that lately, and I think one thing almost ties into what we were talking about is, it's, like I said, it's from 2005, it's a drama, and it's on HBO, and we watched Euphoria recently, me and you, and I think watching Euphoria and watching another HBO drama from almost 20 years ago at this point is very interesting, because in Euphoria, a lot happens, but it's not like a lot happens in every scene. It's like the scenes where things happen, you have to pay attention to every single second, or you're going to be lost. But then there are other scenes where it's just people are sitting down, and that's the scene. Whereas in Big Love, it's a lot more things are happening in every single scene, and so you have to, like, watch every single scene. And I've been embarrassing myself because I've had to restart a couple episodes because it's not a background noise show.
And I use every single show as a background noise show, which is why I don't watch shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely don't, like, it's a very good show, but I've almost had to, like, change how I watch things, which is probably good for my attention span as a human being.
Yeah. Back to the internet is rotting our brains.
Oh, absolutely. This is even more embarrassing. I'm sorry. I started watching Big Love because I saw a TikTok of a scene.
That's the worst. I feel bad every single time I, like, add a song to my playlist off of TikTok. I don't know why, because, like, sometimes, you know, music is good, but, like, it's embarrassing for me.
So good. It's so embarrassing. Sometimes I'm at work and people are like, yeah, I was reading this article on the New York Times. And I'm like, well, I was watching a TikTok.
Oh, I have to tell you, this is a little embarrassing for me. Because, like, when I wake up in the morning, I want to try and, like, you know, sit up. Because I like to, like, I'm not a morning person. So I've found a hack that I need to do is, like, have 15-20 minutes to myself in the morning just to, like, fully wake up before I be a person.
Brave the day.
Yeah. So, but I can't read a book because I have no self-control when it comes to reading, and then I will be very late to go to work. So, like, I'll, like, scroll through my phone, and I'm trying to do that less. So instead of, like, reading, like, the news on my phone, and I cannot tell you the little rush I get when I go to work, and people are talking about things, and, like, twice this week I was like, well, I was reading a news article this morning.
I get the New York Times, like, breaking news articles sent to me, and I think that's the only reason why I know what's happening in the world.
I was reading a nice little article about how in Florida there's no insurance companies because no one wants to insure homes in Florida because of all the hurricanes. So there's, like, basically there's one insurance company in Florida that you can get your insurance from. And obviously because there's one insurance company, they can kind of charge you as much as they would like, because your other option is no insurance.
It's die.
Yeah. So,
I love America.
that show sounds interesting. Before you said Amanda Seyfried was in it, I was gonna ask if it was like a real show, like a documentary type show, or if it was not. But it's not, obviously, because Amanda Seyfried is not a Mormon. The last time I checked.
No. AJ Cook is, though.
She is. Unfortunately, this is going to be controversial. I don't think the internet's going to agree with me. I think JJ is the best looking lady.
You think she is?
Yes. I'm not an Emily Prentice girl. Emily Prentice is not for me.
I'm definitely an Emily Prentice girl, but unfortunately, the actress does look a little bit too much like my mom for me to be super into Emily.
Why would you say that to me?
Just to ruin things. I didn't want you to be happy. Is it working?
You know what? Yes.
Good.
Is that why you keep being friends with me after all this time, too?
Well, no,
Oh,
that's because your
perfect.
mom's paying me.
Oh, I gotta talk to her about that. Anyway.
Yeah,
And also,
I
JJ
really
was
need a
always like a
raise.
little like, I don't know. She was like sporty. She was fun, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by far the most beautiful person on that whole cast.
Anyway, sorry, shows. I've been watching shows. I actually know how to do that. I have a TV in my room, and then my parents stopped paying for cable apparently while I was gone because, I mean, it makes sense. You get everything on Netflix and like Amazon Prime and stuff. But the problem is, we used to have Comcast, which had Peacock. So Law and Order, if it wasn't on, it was on Peacock. Mm-hmm. And I watched Law and Order all of the time. But I haven't been able to watch Law and Order. So what I have been watching is Psych, which is my second go-to. Love Psych. I just turn that on, let it run. But also, I don't know if this counts. And since you had two earlier, I will count this. I watch a lot of like catfish clips on YouTube. I never actually sit down and watch the whole show. So I'll watch like catfish based compilations. They're like 6 catfish reveals we never got over, or like 10 catfish reveals that revealed a cheater, like things like that. So I've been watching a lot of those, which are just fun because
they're so good.
Every single time I watch catfish, I'm like, come on. Come on, dude.
Sometimes I like, it sounds really fake. Like, you sound really fake.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if I had not met you in person,
you would think I was made up?
Would never believe it. Like, if I had not gone to like not live with you, but stay with you in the country, like all the countries you've been in, I would be like, you are lying to me. I don't have enough trust to be hoodwinked by some random person on the internet. I think you test my like reality
for me,
enough.
It's like, how many times can we hear the same story? Because the people who write into Catfish obviously have heard of the show and probably seen the show Catfish, right? So, and then they're like going through the story, and Neve, the main guy, is like reading out the plot or whatever, the email the person sends him. And it's like, we've been talking for 8 years, but we've never FaceTime.
Why not?
I would have, you know how long ago I would have stopped talking to that person? Back to media literacy. Maybe if someone has post photos of themselves and they're really hot and they never want to FaceTime you.
Yeah. And like, if all their photos are from one very specific angle with one very specific filter, just like think about it a little bit more.
My favorite though are the catfish episodes where the person's like catfishing, but not specifically just to catfish people. Like, there was a whole other backstory as to why they have the profile. Like, one I saw was, first of all, a lady who had been on Catfish before, okay, catfishing this other guy, and then they caught her, and then years later it turns out she was catfishing someone else, because here's what happened, okay? Let's say we have Melissa, and Melissa is pretending to be her sister Mandy, because Melissa had an ex-boyfriend who it turns out was sleeping with Mandy. So Melissa made the fake profile as her sister to catch her boyfriend cheating on her, right?
Yes.
Okay? Then their cousin, who was the catfish from a previous season, made a fake profile for this to be this dude named Jose, and was talking to Mandy, the Mandy profile. And then Melissa, via the Mandy profile, was like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I'm not actually Mandy. This is why I made the account. the person running the Jose account didn't fess up then, okay? Neve, and I don't think it was Max anymore. I think it was the lady who hosts the show with him now. Cammy. Yeah, it's a lady who hosted with him. I think for a while he was like going through different hosts, and now he's got some girl named Cammy because I see her in all the clips. But Neve and Cammy, they go to confront her. Out comes the catfish from a previous season. Guess how she knows Mandy and Melissa? She's their cousin. She was catfishing Mandy, her cousin, for some reason. Something about her baby daddy. I don't... It's so confusing. Which was why she was catfishing the first guy in an earlier season. Because in the earlier season, she made the fake profile to spy on her baby daddy who was in jail, so that when he got out of jail to ask for custody or visitation, she could tell the judge, no, he can't have custody and visitation because look at the stuff he posts on Facebook. That's so much.
That's too much. I was going to try to keep... I still can't get over, and I know this has been done to death, the one who catfished somebody because he called her a fat-ass Kelly Price.
That's the clip they show in like 90% of these compilations. It's in there.
But it works.
Because that was ridiculous.
I don't remember if this was Catfish or another episode, or another like type of show. Maybe it was fake from some YouTube skit I saw years ago. Anyway, there was a guy who was talking to another guy online, and it was like, "I'm not gay, just so you know, I'm not gay." And then whoever was running the show
was Catfish.
That was Catfish. He was like, "You've been in a virtual relationship with another man for 3 months," and he goes, "You got me there."
Yeah, that was Catfish.
Catfish. Okay.
Are the worst or when it's like, it's someone they know. Now, one of the ones I saw, the cheater ones, it was like his sister was catfishing him because he didn't tell this to Neve and Max till the last minute, right? But he has like a girlfriend that he's been with for 6 years and a child, okay? Oh. But he's talking to this other girl, and he was like, and when Neve was like, I'm sure there's like lots of women in the world I could fall in love with, but I made a commitment to my wife, so you know who I'm with? My wife. And the guy was like, yeah, but would you rather read one book for your life or lots of books? But anyway, the guy's sister was catfishing him because she was like, you have a girlfriend at home who loves you. You have a child. You were trying to break up your family. And I wanted to show you that you're being stupid. I needed you to stop doing that. And he was mad at her. He was like, I can't believe you would do this to me. This is ridiculous. You're a terrible person. Dude, look in the mirror first.
Yeah, it's not her fault. I mean, like, I personally wouldn't go straight to catfishing my own brother. Yeah. But I do think that needs to be treated as a separate issue because...
But the fact that, like, he's at the level where she was like, this is the only thing that's gonna fix this problem.
Yeah.
But so in that scenario, I understand. But when, like, the catfish is someone they know, like the cousin one, or just... One of them was this guy who said it was his stalker was catfishing him. He was like, yeah, she's been in love with me since high school. And when they figured out who it was, she was like, but you wouldn't talk to me as myself. He goes, yeah, because you're you.
You're a creep, yeah.
He's like, I've told you so many times I'm not interested. And you were just always you. And the catfish, when he thought it was the other person, he said sometimes she'd, like, leave notes at my door. And when they figured out it was a stalker, he was like, oh, yeah, sometimes she drives by my house. She just drives past my house. And I was like, hi, I passed your house today. Leave me alone. Anyway, sorry. I've been watching a lot of catfish clips. That's my show of the summer because, well, you've heard why. It's a lot happening. It's a lot of drama that I'm not directly involved in. Yeah. Movie. What was your movie of the summer, Elanor?
That is such a great question. I would like for you to go first.
No. I'll go first. My movie of the summer. I have to remember now. It was an Indian movie. I'm sure this will shock everybody. It's called Ye Dilagi. It's very good. It is the Indian version of Sabrina. And if anyone knows anything about me, I love Audrey Hepburn. And Audrey Hepburn was in Sabrina. I will tell you the plot of Sabrina because Elanor looks confused. There's this rich family, and they have older brother and a younger brother. And the younger brother's like the ladies' man, different girl on his arm every night, and the older brother's like running the family business, very serious, blah blah blah. And then they have a driver who works for them, and he's got a daughter, and they like live over the garage or something, but like they live on the property. And so like they grew up together technically because they're all close in age. She's younger than the two of them, but they're all close enough in age, and she's
Yeah.
madly
Yes.
in love with the younger brother, and he won't pay her any mind. And when she finally realizes that, because he's like, I'll meet you in the tennis court, and then he like ends up there with some other girl, so then she runs away in tears, and the older brother's like, don't waste your time on him, he's not important. So then she runs off to Paris and goes to like culinary school or whatever, and comes back, and she's all sophisticated and elegant and beautiful and a classy lady. And the younger brother's like, oh my god, can I let me drop, he like sees her at the train station or something, he's like, can I give you a ride to your house? And she's like, yeah, sure. So she gets in the car with him, and she's like kind of giving him the runaround, and then he's like, what's your address? And she's like giving him very vague instructions, and they pull up at his house, and he's like, oh, this is funny, you took me to my house. And she's like, yeah, no, I live here too. And when he realizes her, he's like, oh my god, really? Blah. Anyway, he falls in love with her because she's come back all classy, but she ends up falling in love with the older brother, and the younger brother learns the error of his ways and grows as a man. So the Indian version, basically that, except it was longer. There was songs. And I didn't like this, but it was, I don't know if this justifies it, but it was made like in the 80s or 90s. But the guy did try to drug her, the younger brother. So I was like full, because like in Sabrina, the original one, I'm like, I can kind of see you making an argument for either guy. Like the one guy's a womanizer, but like he's not awful. He's just, you know, he's had a lot of privilege in his life. He's just kind of making use of it. Whereas in that one, he tried to drug her, but she figured it out and drugged him instead. Not a fan of that one. And then he was like, but then he became a better person because he was like dreaming of her. And he was like, I need to be a good man for her. But his brother and her had started dating by then, but they were kind of keeping it on the down low because their mother, you know, India's like got the caste system and stuff. And their mother was like, you can't marry her. She's like of a lower caste than us, and she's a servant, blah, 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 blah. And so they're trying to keep it secret. And then he found out, and he was like, this is blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it was good. It was a love story. It was a good movie. Minus the drugging part.
Well, I mean, everybody gets like 3 flaws.
Okay.
But
Maybe,
sometimes
I
you
think
can
that
look
counts
back-
for all 3.
It's like how sometimes when you watch a movie from before 2015, like, you know, 3 instances of severe homophobia, transphobia, or racism.
I think trying to drug her counted for all 3 of his instances.
Oh,
That was all
absolutely.
3 of his strikes.
You can get
And
like,
also-
3 little ones.
If you like Indian movies, that was the first movie, and also the only movie I have watched with this fella named Saif Ali Khan in it, and he's pretty popular. And then it had Kajol in it, and I like her a lot. She's in a lot of movies I watch. And then there was, no. I'm not going to say the other guy's name just because I always think he's this other dude, and I know he's not, but I can't remember his name. So, but the older brother. And I never thought he was cute before, but him as the older brother, he was all serious. And he was like, but falling in love, and he like learned to loosen up a little bit. It was nice. It was cute.
Is this the one?
I'm not a romance movie lady. I'm not. My favorite romance movie is Me Before You. Do you know what happens at the end of that movie?
No, why would I know that? Oh, does he die?
Pain and devastation. Yes.
Okay.
And I think it's the perfect ending to that movie. And I don't think it should have ended any other way. So. What
you
else?
say you don't like romance movies, but you have spoken to me about a lot of romance movies.
Okay, but like, first of all, a lot of romance movies I like are Indian movies, and I don't like them because they're romance movies. I like just the way they tell the story. And also, half the time I tell you about them and tell you how stupid they are. Like the Indian movie, which is so convoluted. I was telling someone at work about this, where their college best friend. But anyway, basically he gets married, and the wife decides to have the child even though she knows she's going to die. But he doesn't find this out until she's dead after she's given birth to the child. And she left a letter for the child every year up until the child's 8th birthday, to send her 8-year-old daughter to go find his college best friend that was in love with him. And not only that, she agreed to name her child Anjali, which was the name of his college best friend that he didn't know was in love with him, but his wife knew was in love with him. Which, first of all, you're not a girl's girl. If you knew the college best friend, because she, like, it wasn't like she knew them. She moved to the school, so, like, they had been friends for years. Then this girl moves to the school, realizes the friend is in love with him, still goes on a date with him and marries him. That's just kind of rude, right? Whatever. That movie's convoluted. Here are the romantic movies I like. I like Me Before You, 13 Going on 30, Sabrina.
Okay.
That's the list. Twilight.
That's the whole list.
But I don't actually like the romance in Twilight. I like the everything else.
Oh, yeah, I could give or take the romance in Twilight any day. That's not what we're watching for.
Sometimes when I like a romance, it's not even like I might like the romance in it, but it's usually not a romance movie. It's like a drama or something, and romances might happen. Anyway, sorry. What was your movie, Elanor? I was trying to stall and give you some time to come up with something.
Yeah, so I have two that I can mention. One is just...
You couldn't come up with one and now you have two?
Well, I'm going to say one and then you're not going to let me talk about it. So I had to have a backup.
Okay. What is it?
So the last movie I watched is called Popstar Never Stop
Nope.
Stopping. And so my backup movie... I recently watched Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I wouldn't say it's my movie of the summer, but I only watched 2 movies this whole summer. And
it was summertime and I watched it.
That's the other one. It has
You know what
Jason
I liked?
Segel in it.
I was going to say, for some reason I thought it had, I've never watched that movie, but for some reason I was picturing the girl from How I Met Your Mother, but it was him that was in it.
Yeah,
the
he's
redhead,
in it.
his wife. Yeah.
Mila Kunis and the one from Veronica Mars and The Good Place, Kristen Bell.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell Brand is in it also. He just kind of shows up.
He is unfortunately kind of funny though.
Yeah.
And he did this comedy special after he like got sober and found God or whatever. That was really good because it was like dissecting. I don't know. It was really good. It was like thought provoking. You know what I mean? Which I wasn't expecting. And like not even in like a comedian way that it normally is, where they're like, it's not really that deep. It was like genuinely deep. Anyway, I was gonna say I watched The Haunted Mansion, which we talked about last week. The new Haunted Mansion. I thought it was decent.
It was good.
I will give 20% of it to the fact that Lakeith Stanfield is a cutie patootie, and they had him in very nice outfits. But it was a good movie. I have priorities.
At this point, any pretty man will get me to watch it. It doesn't even have to be a man. Anybody pretty will get me to watch a movie. That's half the reason I watch Forgetting Marshall, because Jason Segel looks sad in the thumbnail. And I love to see a man sad. I think it makes them prettier.
I like when a man looks disheveled.
I like that as well. Or like cozy. I think that's part of the reason why we both enjoy. Well, that's why part of the reason I enjoy New Moon. You enjoy New Moon because you're a freak. But
wait, why do I enjoy New Moon that makes me a freak? Please tell me.
It's the saddest movie in the whole. I guess it's not a trilogy. The whole series.
I will tell you the biggest call out my mom ever did of me. Okay, she read me as my brother would say. Not even the kids, my brother would say. To filth is we were talking about the Twilight series because she read all the books before me to make sure they were okay. So to this day, have not read Breaking Dawn.
That's probably smart.
So, but we were talking about our favorite books, and I was like, oh, well, my favorite book is New Moon, and I couldn't figure out why we were talking about it. And then like a while later, she came to me and she goes, I figured out like I know why your favorite book is New Moon. It's because it's like a very Jacob centric book. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Anyway, after that I figured, because I couldn't figure out what team I was on, but apparently she did. So.
Oh,
but
you
it is a
didn't
Jacob centric
know?
book. I mean, I know now.
Okay.
I mean,
right.
Actually, everyone, I don't know if you remember this. I'm team therapist. It's Bella and a therapist. But if that's not an option, I am team Jacob. But like team Jacob before he kissed her and she punched him.
I know I've been sending you these a lot. I've been sending you them like half the time they come up on my TikTok. But it's Taylor Swift edits to Twilight scenes.
Oh, I remember what I wanted to tell you. Sorry, I need to say this before I forget. You did. You sent me a Taylor Swift song. Which one was it? Remind me. I don't know. She sent me
Kalina,
one.
I've seen like they start right in my brain after the second one.
White
Horse, maybe?
Eleanor sent me. Maybe, but anyway, you sent me a TikTok that was a edit to a Taylor Swift
Haunted.
song. Haunted. Yes.
Yeah.
And basically it was like, you know, Jacob is saving her, blah, 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 whatever. Da, 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 da. Little love triangle. Love it. Okay, 10 out of 10. Fantastic. And I said to Eleanor, I need to tell her this because every single time I hear the song Thinking of You by Katy Perry, I think about Twilight because I was actually just rewatching these because I was trying to stop watching Catfish. So I had to find something else to watch. And there's this channel on YouTube called The Hillywood Show, and they do like musical parodies of stuff. So they did Supernatural, and they did like Shake It Off by Taylor Swift, but they changed the lyrics to fit the situation of the song, essentially. So instead of got nothing in my brain, he says, I've got the mark of Cain, because Dean in Supernatural had the mark of Cain one time. Don't ask me how that happened. I'm still not sure.
I don't want to know.
Anyway, but way back when they first started doing these videos, they didn't change the lyrics. They would just, I guess, you know, they weren't quite at that production level yet. So they just used songs, and they did Twilight parodies. And in the Twilight parody, or I guess it was their New Moon parody, they did Thinking of You by Katy Perry, because that's when she's with Jacob all the time. And it says, when I'm with him, I am thinking of you. And she says, he kissed I kissed his lips or something. I taste your mouth. He pulled me in. I was disgusted with myself. So every single time I hear that song, now I think about Twilight because of the Hillywood Show. And I think you should go watch that.
I think I should. I've been getting into, well, not getting into, I've been getting over me hating Katy Perry because I realized I decided to do that out of nowhere. She's good.
We talked about that one time. And that first, I think it's off of that first album, One of the Boys. That is her best. It's got One of the Boys.
Such a good album.
It's Thinking of You. I Kissed a Girl was on there. You're So Gay.
I Kissed a Girl is on my recently revamped playlist. It came on when my mom was in the car, and I didn't like that conversation.
I have I Kissed a Girl, the rock remix, which is also on the deluxe version of that album. Very good. And that song makes me think of Slovakia because
of me?
I heard that song TikTok live. That's how we make money. See, it's a good idea.
It is.
I think we should leave the internet. I've said too many things. Listen, sometimes you gotta kiss the homies.
I agree.
It's good to have Elanor back. It's gonna last not at all, but it was nice for you to come visit.
At least one more week.
Perfect. Cross your heart.
Yes.
Scout's honor. Every time I say that, my parents go, "You're wearing a scout." I'm like, that's not the point. I am an honorable young woman.
You don't have to be in Scouts to be a scout.
Oh, also, if you guys are listening to this, I'm thinking about getting a cat, and I need name ideas. So far, the short list is Atticus and Cat. So, if anyone has anything to suggest,
name your cat Bunny. Because I had a bunny named Miss Kitty for a while.
So I should name it Miss Bunny.
Okay, sorry.
Well, he'd be a Mister, so Mr. Bunny.
Mr. Bunny, yeah.
Well, my parents suggested Cat, and then I don't love that name, but I thought it was funny because I like Breakfast at Tiffany's, and in Breakfast at Tiffany's, she names her cat Cat because she's like, I don't own him, so I can't give him a name, so he's Cat. And then I suggested Atticus just because I'm reading To Kill a Mockingbird right now, and I think it's cute.
Am I allowed to suggest names, or did you very purposely only direct it to whoever's listening?
I mean, unfortunately, you are listening, but yes, I did purposely direct it.
You could name it Cabinet.
Also, how are you gonna ask after you just gave me a name suggestion?
Or what's the name of? We should end this episode. I can talk to you at any time about this.
Anyway, I am Kalina. She's Elanor.
Elanor.
And I'm not letting her talk anymore. This is Don't Quote Me on That. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Don't Quote Us on that. Yes. And on Twitter at Don't Quote Us 27. And we will be back next week talking about something else. And if you have suggestions, let us know.
Yes. Have a good night. I love you.
Thanks for listening. Don't quote me on that. One day we'll have an outro, but it's not today.